Hey YouTube, it's Gundude73 with another episode of Knife Talk, and today we're going to be talking about blade grinds. And just like with blade shapes, it seems that I don't have a whole lot of variation, but I do have some variation, so we'll work with that. The first one here is a high flat grind. Now, a lot of people like the full flat grinds because they slice very well. With a high flat grind, you can see that it is not fully all the way to the top of the knife. Like right there is where the grind starts, and it's basically all the way to the edge, to the secondary bevel. So this slices fairly well. You can see that's pretty thin too, so high flat grinds are nice. Really, between a high flat and a full flat, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference, but people still go either way. They like either one. This Boker here, upon first inspection, you'd think it's a full flat grind, but it's actually a full height hollow grind. This thing is like a slicing demon. You know, I can't really think of a good way to show you, but it is hollow ground. So you don't really see hollow grinds this high too often. We'll get to the Sebenza, which is also hollow ground, but very good slicer. A lot of people, this is called a saber grind. Most people think, oh, it's saber flat or saber whatever. That it has to be a flat grind. Not necessarily. A saber grind is basically anything that's sort of halfway on the blade like that. This one is a saber hollow grind, and something like a black FRN Endura would be a saber flat grind. The nice thing with a saber grind is it gives you a lot of thickness at the tip, so that's very nice. Strengthens the knife. And one disadvantage though is this shoulder right here will hang up when you're cutting. It won't slice as well as the 0350. This is an example. This Opinel, I believe Opinels are full convex actually. This one doesn't, it looks like I think it has a secondary bevel on there. Like a micro bevel, maybe from me just trying to sharpen it traditionally before I realized it was convex. But there's no real secondary bevel on there. So this is basically just like an apple seed. You know, it cuts pretty well. Like if you guys see Jay Davis 882's video of his CKC knife slicing the rope, it did really well because it's full convex. The Sebenza here is also hollow ground. You can see this hollow, you can tell a hollow grind because of the way it reflects light. You can see that. But it's a fairly high hollow grind actually, but it's not a full high hollow grind. This shoulder up here may present some issues in cutting, but more than likely not, at least not in my experience. Nice thing with hollow grinds is they stay useful for a very long time. As you sharpen away this edge, it stays pretty thin fairly high up, as opposed to a full flat grind, which basically, gets thicker as you go. This stays thin for a bit longer. So there's been Sebenzas, just for example, in use for since they've been around, people still carrying them and using them and sharpening them, and they are noticeably narrower than modern ones, but they're still serviceable and they're still sharp. And the final one here is a Para 2. This is full flat ground. Basically from the spine to the secondary bevel is completely flat, and then you only have that secondary edge. This is a great slicer. There's no shoulder to really get in the way when you're cutting. And only disadvantages with a full flat grind in this case, the tip is kind of thin, as you can see. And as this knife is used over and over and sharpened over and over, you're basically just working your way up a very thick wedge. So eventually you're going to get to a point where your edges is so thick that this doesn't cut. But really that doesn't happen too often. And being knife nuts, we generally buy multiples or more anyway, so it's not like you're going to be in a situation where you completely use up a knife. So that was a brief talk on grinds, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.